be fair.
They don't wear this.
For and we are live. Apparently, I left Abaddon up because what I like to do is make sure I technologically fuck something up every single stream, and I like to swear in the first 10 seconds of the stream so that YouTube always notices it. I am here. I am Mr. Brad Chester, the youngest, healthiest, tallest man with the best flowing locks in the game. Next to me, to the left of me, I have some judging type dude or some stuff. I'll let him introduce himself.
Brian Horton, currently the coldest judge in 40K.
I'm Thomas Ogden, and I'm brand new to 40K, excited to learn about it.
we got some stuff going on. We've got things. We've got some predictions for this weekend. Got to give props to Mr. Roberts. Josh Roberts won the Nottingham Open, the biggest event that happened over the weekend, and he brought Necrons. And we're gonna start off with that because he brought unnerfed Necrons, with the Immortals still getting to use the Canoptic Strat 2CP to do mortals. And
Is it really that big of a nerf? I mean, yeah, it does take one tool out of the toolbox, but they have so many tools in that toolbox that 500 to 600 points now goes somewhere else, and it's equally as good, and you're not quite as CP dependent.
I agree on that.
Like the Wraith build.
Well, no matter what, they're in Wraith build. Like, for instance, well, it's just, I can put it up right now, to be honest with you. Here is Josh's list. And the thing is that a lot of people got super angry about this because a lot of people were bringing this to LVO and they can't bring it to LVO anymore. And they basically said, I'm not going. Like a couple people did. Our Sean Rice decided to go from Necrons to CSM. He was waffling already, but we'll take a look at his list in just a few. We look at our predictions for the weekend. But Josh brought Xerez, the Overlord with the Translocation Shroud, double Plasmancers to jump in those Immortals, the 3 Technos to go into the 6-man Wraith units, got 3 of those. Then he's got 2 10-man units of Immortals. He's got 2 goofy Canoptic Anarthrites, 2 Doomstalkers, a unit of Swarms, and basically he's, standard list on this. I really like it still. I did not care. Like, the list that I thought about bringing to LVO didn't even have the Immortal Bomb, but people are losing their shit about this, for real.
I mean, I understand if you spent the time doing the hobby side of things to get that list ready, and then you, with less than a week to go, have to go, I need to pivot my list, or less than a few days to go.
100% understand the hobby stuff. Like, it's one of those things that they're doing really well, but I don't know if this changes. I think Canoptic and Hyperphase are just really strong detachments. And even with this, I don't think this is as big of a nerf because, I also am very biased on this because I thought that having 2 effectively 300 point bombs that can get kind of smoked pretty easily because they're still just 1 wound Necron dudes, you know what I mean, was a little too much for me. But I also get heart palpitations if I see something more than 100 points in my list. So it was a big deal in that. So I want to see what chat thinks about this, though. What do you everybody think about this? How much does not having the mortal bomb affect the efficacy of the list? So what are your thoughts on this, Tom? What are your initial thoughts on this, Tom? Not having the bomb.
I just must be a bad player because I wasn't running the bomb to begin with, and I was looking at the list. I was running, I don't know, I was trying to fit as many races as I can.
But they're all going to have 18 rates, but I just felt like you got some much more stuff. Like the list I was thinking about taking, we talked about this last week if you guys watched the stream, which was, 18 race, 10 flayed ones, death marks, 3 individual destroyers, some doomstalkers. It's just you get more other shit if you're not bringing that. I just think that the list. I still think that the detachment's fine. It's got fantastic strats, and it just does work. And still go ahead.
I don't want to go too off a tangent here. That's why I like making comments to the chat as it happened. So we have 1+ save saying Necrons take way more effort than a lot of other factions to take above battle ready. I wholeheartedly disagree with you. Now, where I will agree with you is to make them winnable in hobby support prizes, 100%. It is so hard to make an army that's all black or all gunmetal or majority of those colors stand out. For example, Pete Jonathan, used to take his Iron Hands all the time to events and not win best painted, even though it's painted by like a golden demon winner. And if you look at everyone, they have like little handwritten things everywhere on them, and they're just beautiful if you understand what we're looking at. But people don't know. It's so hard to make those pop, right? So it's hard to win awards with Necrons. But to make them battle ready by the battle ready standard is so easy. Gunmetal spray, a couple different washes. When I can do it and make it battle ready, it's not hard.
Yes. Hold on, guys. Do you want me to weigh in on this painting argument here?
I mean, no.
So what you're saying is no. I got I'm starting to feel this a little bit. I'm starting to feel it.
Hey, Brad, if there's one army I think I could teach you how to paint, it's Necrons and get them to the battle standard line.
But I think that here, I'll give this because he made the argument before. 1+ Saves has said this before, which is yes, battle ready, very easy, but battle ready as far as looking beautiful on the table is different because the argument was, he said this before. I'm paraphrasing what he said. I'm probably going to completely jack it up. But like he was saying that, like, yes, you can actually get this in the board really fast, but to actually make them pop because of that, just what you're saying with Pete's list on this, it takes a lot more effort to get people to recognize that it's a well-painted army.
Like whenever you take an army that is primarily a color, right? Because most Necrons are either if you started in 9th edition, they have the Silent King color scheme, or you have the traditional like silver with green color scheme. To make that pop, you have to spend additional time doing things. Like my Necrons all have red pauldrons that are very highly, edged highlighted, very bright on the edges. And for stuff that's fast moving vehicles, I actually brightened the edges up even more to make them look like the metal was warmer as it moved. So it's those little things you have to do to make them pop. I completely agree with them on that. It's tough to take them to parade ready level.
Yeah, I remember one time I was at Adepticon. It was like a while ago, and I had a Necron army when I went to Adepticon one time, and I was playing Necrons, and I had this guy's army next to me, and they're like, he like scored way better than me, and I couldn't see the difference. I'm like, whatever, his looks just kind of like mine. I didn't paint mine obviously, but it was pretty much a battle standard ready army. Until he's like, you have to look at it. There's like 8 different shades of silver on this plate here. If you look at like gradually changes, and that stuff I didn't notice at that time, and I barely notice it now, and I'm 10, 15-year veteran in 40K now. I still don't notice half the stuff. It's very hard to make that army win awards if you go the standard color scheme. But I don't know why people are talking about they're not going to take Necrons because they got, like you were saying, like people did the hobbies. Find 500 points and make it battle ready. It's Necrons. But I don't know.
I put up. I would have your guys' thoughts on this while you were throwing that down, because I hear this quite a bit from the painters, and obviously I don't see colors very well, so I'm not the person to weigh in. But I said hardest color to paint: white, yellow, orange.
Yellow, 100%. It's a color that looks different, drastically different. If you just have the slightly wrong shade as the base coat, and you have people who use the same color paint and either get an orange yellow or a bright banana yellow. It's so hard to be consistent.
What color is that Tyranid?
That Tyranid is from this looks like it's like a tan and purple.
It looks bone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That started as an Averlin Sunset yellow base.
Yeah.
I feel like you made up all of those words.
So I mean, I can
even
always
like
go with,
contrast.
in
Like
my
we're getting a
opinion, the hardest color to paint if you're not an airbrush artist, if you're not good with an airbrush, is white. If you're good with an airbrush, then yellow is now the next hardest one to paint with a brush. I think if you're good with an airbrush, you can get those two colors down really, really well. Orange, in my opinion, is probably the hardest color to paint in both aspects, because the choices of most hobby paints that you have access to don't have a great orange. If you used artist grade stuff, I think orange is easier to paint, but
I would say
really
you just
expensive to
get
do
that
correctly.
pro acrylic orange and then you're done. Most high quality orange has such a high pigment in it that it can go over almost anything. The reason why I just think yellow, and I could be completely wrong because everyone knows I'm probably like the worst hobby on this call besides Brad.
I thought you were good. I was just like, wait
When
a
I say
second.
call, I mean literally everyone in chat as well. Like everyone in chat's better than me besides Brad. But when you see all these people with yellow armies, even I can look at someone who has a yellow army and see them. You can tell what units were painted at the same time because all the yellows never fully add up. It takes like a really professional painter to be able to look at someone who has a full yellow army and be like, yeah, I can't tell one was if they were painted at the same time or not. They're all a match. I always, and I never tell them because I don't want to be mean, but yeah, but you can see there's different shades of yellow. It's so hard to make it consistent. When I see people with white armies or orange armies, they almost always are in uniform, right? If they're any kind of decent painter. But I've seen some pretty good painters that I respect with their yellow armies. I'm like, yeah, they don't match. And
I will say that if you and I know we're on the hobby moment for a second during our live, our competitive chat, but
keep in mind there's points awarded for hobby scores, so it's still
100%. You got to think we're also got an overall. I mean, think about it. One of our own Blake Law painted all his knights and stuff like that yellow specifically to challenge himself because he thought the yellow was really hard to paint.
And I think and I agree that yellow is a difficult color to paint, but as you learn, like I have the luxury of I work in an art store as well, so I get a little bit of added bonus of you learn that like certain colors really lend better to heavy body acrylics as compared to our hobby acrylics, because a lot of the heavy body color companies such as Golden, Holbein, and all them, they laser color match all their color from tube to tube to tube, from batch to batch to batch, where I can't say that all the hobby paints do that, because I know with a specific brand that starts with a V, and I'm not going to bash it directly, but if you buy a pot of their or a dropper bottle of their ultramarine blue, and then 6 months later another bottle of it, it will probably not be the same color if you're out of a different batch, because they don't laser color match, they just formula match. And if you know anything about pigments, there's differences in pigments as you go.
Well, and to kind of go back to 1+ saves, because he just made something that I'm actually wholeheartedly agree with you. 1+ saves. So he says 500 points can take a long time, especially when you have to lock in a list 2 days after I got rug pulled. I'm super sad about losing all my practice game strategies. That I can wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yep.
If you played a different way because you had an army, now you have 2 days to make a new army, and all your practice, and you were serious about trying to top 8 it or even win the event. Having all those reps pulled from you could be heartbreaking. I would agree with you on that wholeheartedly.
Plus, you do have to change a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, 500 points. That's 25% of your list. 25% of your list can make your style or your strategies completely different.
Yep. And again, it's tough to pivot a list on the go when there are changes. But the thing with what LVO had set up was they had their rules cut off and their list submissions really close to each other. So stuff got in under the gun. They stuck to their guns of using what they set up, which I got to give them credit for. They didn't backtrack or backpedal.
Use the data slate.
They used everything as it dropped. Hey, look, if the data slate drop, I mean, their rules cutoff has come now. But if the data slate drops on Wednesday or Thursday, as a lot of people are anticipating it might, you're going to hear after LVO this tournament really didn't matter because it's come and gone. That time's come and gone. So it'll be weird to see it happen. I hope they wait till after LVO to drop it. In all honesty,
I hope they drop it Wednesday.
I'm actually super excited for his data slate. It ain't no surprise. I've been trying to get back into 40K since I started a family. What was it? When did I taking a step away, Brad? Brad,
about
was
6 months
May?
ago.
I think it was around May.
Yeah,
June.
it's been a while. But at least a half year.
But I'm excited about actually. I've been talking to Brad a lot about it now that my family's settled and we're doing really well, and she's even pressuring me to get back into it now. She has been for a while, but I'm super excited for his data slate coming up. Honestly,
You go home and Danny's like, "Oh yeah, remember when you used to be a winner? Sit down, loser."
No, I think the issue is, not to bring up my drama or anything here, is the fact that like every other day someone else is calling me, asking me for advice and stuff, and it's like, bro, I don't know the meta right now. Like I know it, but like not enough to tell you like how to win that event.
Yep.
What do you think is gonna happen in this data slate? Like I hate to go on a tangent, but why don't you two tell me what you're hoping what you think is gonna happen, and let's get some people in chat talk about things that they think is gonna come up in data slate. Because I would love to talk about the data, like what we think is gonna happen from like the recent FAQ.
I want to be able to play Eldar again and play them as Eldar, and I think that's not going to happen until the Codex comes out. But what I do think is going to happen is they have to punt Night Spinners and Yinkaran's mechanics into the sun. The problem is that once you do that, I think the army is going to be bad. Because
we agree on that one, Brad. I think what they need to do, besides, I think what's going to happen is they're just going to point cost those out of multiple play abilities on the Night Spinners.
Just change the goddamn mechanic, man.
So what mechanic do you change on that?
You could have advance, you just had a minus.
Yeah, you just make it -2, and also don't make it work on everything. I think it's the only mechanic like that works on non-infantry in the game.
Hold on one second. Sean, whatever you're doing, stop fucking typing in the chat and just get in a call with us. Jump in the call and talk with us. Just jump in the call. Just jump in here. You don't even have to have your camera on. We can just leave a list up. Just get your voice in here, Sean. Let's hear you.
Sultry voice.
So, on the data slate, what I would like them to do is I would like to bring those bottom tier armies up, and I would like them to do a data analysis where they take stuff that's not appearing in lists and go, hey, where can we lower the points to on these to potentially put them into a list where they're not spammable, but they're usable. And I would love to see them do that. I actually am a little bit less about the nerf. Like, I think that there's a handful of things in Chaos Space Marine and Eldar that need to get punted into the sun.
I'm still
outside of that.
I'm worried about Eldar. We talked about this, man. What about? I'm still worried that they're going to fuck Votann because they're going to accidentally fuck them up because they don't have very many data sheets. So if you mess with anything, it could ruin the army.
If you leave it perfectly where it is, I think it's fine. I honestly do. I think if you bring the other stuff up, you bring down Chaos Space Marines just by legitimately I don't think their rules are that bad. I think a little bit of point fixing, they'll be fine because you can take some of that stuff out of their list. Eldar, I really don't think they're going to rules change the Night Spinner. I don't see it happening, but I see a 200-point model in our future.
Yeah, but people are just going to bring one then.
Yeah, it's still really good at one.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that one broken unit, right? With one of them. My problem is 3.
I mean, we're going to look at some lists. I got both our boy Folger Piles and I have Ben Urich's list up, and they're very similar.
Real quick, before we do that, so we just want to ask a question for you, Brad. Danny L. I need to ask this, but how many shots from the AdMech sniper did parentheses strength 5, AP2, damage 3, anti-infantry precision would be overkill? Like, is taking 3x3 Jezzail's chickens and 3 Scatro characters just silly? I don't know why
it's not though, because I love the fact that Sean joined and immediately kicked Porton the fuck out of the street.
That's all right. Don't want to see my anyways.
Hold on, guys. Let me I'll fix this. Sean's like,
very fitting.
Go get out my face, bum.
Bringing chaos. That's what I'm going to be doing at LVO too.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad you're playing Chaos because I think that's one of the best choices you can take, especially with player place terrain.
I want you to know that I took orcs based on the recommendation by Sean Dice with Rice, and if I do poorly with it, I have already said I'm going down to whatever random southern state he's from, and I'm upper decking every one of his toilets.
I told him there'd be a fight either way. You know, a fight to tell him I was right, or a fight where he just says, "I went 0-3. Why did you do this to me?"
But
Brad,
to answer that question, to answer the question, I actually almost never think there's an overkill with characters because there is so many great characters that are doing amazing shit, especially if you have ways to Overwatch. If you have Overwatch on 5s, if you have special ways to Overwatch and shit like that, killing a character when they come in, there's a ton of units that rely, cough, Technomancer, things of that nature, units that really rely on that character to give them either their killing ability or their defensive ability. Lyle Dick's coming with $2 super chat. When are we doing a vote on our 5 team lists? There's no vote. Emperor Brad declares things. I would rule overall, except for I don't pay enough attention. So somebody else, I need another adult to be doing stuff. So yes.
All I know is I'm playing GSC for our team event.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You won't ever do it though. Yeah, I don't want you selling your army mid-team event again.
Yeah. Brad,
we talked about this online before, but it's so people that haven't heard this. Tom legitimately sold his army on day 1 of a 2-day event, and the dude left with the army.
Oh yeah.
And then he had to borrow someone else's army to play the second day. That's how much he didn't like it.
Yeah. He's like, oh, these.
He just literally went.
All right.
I go, dude, did you just leave with your army?
So let's hop off the data slate for a minute and hop onto the LVO stuff because I think that's why a lot of people are tuning in. What are your guys' predictions for taking LVO? What do you think the top 2 armies are going to be at the end of the day? We'll start with Sean.
Chaos. Duh. And then I think the other one's kind of a crapshoot. I think Eldar will run into a lot of people. However, with LVO being such a huge field, there's a chance that Eldar just never has to play CSM and goes straight into top 8. That sounds very odd if you're sitting at home, but like you have 1,100 people. There's just a lot of people you're just gonna never see during the day.
I think you're gonna see CSM World Leaders and Necron still. I like Necrons. I think not a lot of people. I think there's an advantage and a severe disadvantage, but a small advantage. The fact that people have to do a quick audible that are still taking them to LVO, and people are not going to be. They're not going to be prepped for wherever they change the 500 points to, or more if they make drastic changes.
I think there's a lot of people that are already not doing that though.
I think it's going to be CSM World Leaders right now. I think they're very, very strong.
Oh, 100%. I think CSM's probably the strongest army in the game right now with that.
I think World Leaders is really good against a lot of top armies right now.
World Leaders does have a problem, though, on FLG terrain where you can just get screwed by your table and then they just kill you.
Especially depending on the what table you're playing on. You can create some really open... There's somebody like taking a shower right now. I don't understand what's happening.
Somebody have like... It sounds like someone's frying food in the background.
What's even happening right now?
They're like, I just look at Sean's camera. I just see him like a little pan. He's like stirring it up. You know the little thing where he's like shaking and the food's like leaving the pan and coming back down. That's why I expected.
Didn't you know it's cooking with rice now? It's not just.
I didn't even know. He's like, hey man, it's not even my last name. It's exactly what I'm doing right now.
I honestly just think that I think Necrons are going to be up there still. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I don't understand the meta as well as I should. I haven't been fully into it. I think FLG, is better for World Leaders because they can stage, if someone knows what they're doing, they can just stage the terrain to do what they want. Like, especially like, it's an army that if you're on like GW training and you go second, you could really get screwed by a couple of things, right? Or FLG, at least you can put the terrain to have it where if you go second, you're still protected. and you can move up and start staging in turns, or if you go first, you can just go, solo. Who cares?
It really depends on what board you get. The World Eaters are terrifying when they get Sanctuary. And, and if they get Sanctuary boards, that's a disgusting army because they have 3 pieces: the hut, the L, and the U that they can all stage behind. And depending on the mission, if you're playing like a hammer and anvil and they get that table, you're kind of just like, well, cool. I guess we don't shoot them.
You don't see a lot of, at least you didn't do it last year, but you don't see a lot of those tables in the top half of the tables. So
you got to remember, they've added. I mean, if you talk with one of our guys, Mike Gandolfo, they've added a crap ton, and I mean a crap ton of the pre-painted Sanctum table, the Chaos table, and their new GW style layout table. They've added a ton of those and taken out a lot of the older stuff. So
the Sanctum and Chaos are really good for World Eaters, in my opinion.
Agreed, 100%, because they both have U's. They both have U's, and they have 3. Most tables don't have 3 pieces of usable stage terrain. They have multiple places you could just put some blocks on if you're just looking to hide a little bit. They have like 3 pieces of I can stage in this piece and go.
And I don't mean to be a dick about this, but the tables that you're worried about are in the bottom half of the tables, the probably bottom quarter. If somebody's going there with like a hardcore list and they're there to win it, whoever they play in the first round or two is generally going to be like a casual, and they're just going to win the game. Like it's just you see a lot of top players do it the first 2 rounds. It's rare when you see 2 big players go at it.
Or you take the Brad path last year and play only.
Jesus Christ, that's so bonkers, dude.
That's rare. That's absolutely.
It is.
Rare.
That is very rare that you hit. Captain of the Spanish team, captain of Team Netherlands, and then ranked ITC player number 2.
Also captain of the Scottish team.
Yeah.
Or you can have what I had 2 years ago when Brad was so mad at me because I played puppy after puppy. Like I remember it was like my 5th round.
What's a mastodon do, Brad?
Yeah. I asked Brad.
Damn it, Tom.
I'm like, Brad, it's round 5, and I'm like, Brad, what's a mastodon? I've never even heard of it.
Round 5. Tom comes up to us and just goes, "Guys, should I be worried about this mastodon thing? He's undefeated at this point." We were like, "Tom, you just shoot it and blow it up." And he was like, "Yeah, but I mean, it could withstand it, right?" We're like,
"No."
The thing's like 1,000 points. Like how hard I'm playing Tom. Like how hard is it? Like I don't even know the stats. I'm trying to pull it up because I don't have good signal. And I can't see his defense, but it's 1,000 points. It's gotta be really tricky, right?
The better part was still we talked afterwards. Also, Tom showed up on my table, and I was basically still deploying my models. And also, we were playing the same list. So he was already done.
They're playing the same list.
And he goes, and I go, "Well, what happened?" He's like, "I didn't really know what to do, so I just killed it on top of 1."
I just killed it, and then I killed everything else. He had like 2 units left. He's like, "Can we just call?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay with that if you are." But
so the big thing is that Kyle makes a good point. The old orc table is I basically piggyback off what Tom was saying earlier about some of the older tables. That orc table that has the stronghold in the middle. It's the only table that has a set piece in the direct middle. But that direct piece you roll off, and the person that wins the roll gets to push it whatever direction they want, basically.
I want to make a friendly wager with
along the center line, though.
It's not anymore.
So actually, I think it changed it where you actually don't get to pick. It's on 1 through 3, you move it left, and on 4 through 6, you move it right. So it doesn't count. It doesn't count as your first move if that's your thing. So it's just
you literally lose that though, especially you're playing, especially like a hammer and anvil stuff. That thing's so big, and some of the other pieces on the orc tables are so big. All of a sudden, you don't have terrain. Because you got to be 4 inches away from shit.
Yeah, and people would know that one had to be 6 inches away. Remember?
It's 5 this time.
Sorry,
it's 5 for pieces.
It used to be 6.
Yeah.
Yes,
and if you got to move it first, you would push it into your opponent's half, which you're allowed to do, and then all their train had to be 6 inches away. So you basically didn't let them stage anything. Yeah. It was like the most stupid.
On hammer and anvil, you can't put any of the big orc pieces in the middle if the stronghold's there. It's just not even possible. It's just too big.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Little that's got 2 L's, the 2 of the.
But they're huge.
Planks. Yeah.
Well, but hold on, I want to make a friendly wager with Sean here. I think World Leaders is going to be really, really good at LVO, and you don't think they're going to be good at all. So besides CSM, I'm going to let you pick a faction.
I'm going to pick the whole top 8 if you want.
No, hold on a minute. You're going to get to pick a faction, any faction you want besides CSM, because we both agree CSM strong on World Leaders. If it has more top 8 people or like entries than World Leaders, you win. If it doesn't, I win. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what's your faction you're picking?
Orcs.
Orcs?
I pick my vote's
that's a
with
good one.
Brad and Sean Nathan.
I feel like you're not picking the faction. You're picking the people.
I set myself up for that one. I wasn't thinking about that.
Gauntlet's down.
Brad. Well, wait a minute. I'm okay. Brad's gonna lose day 1 like he usually does. It's okay.
As he usually does. What have I won? I've lost 1 game in the past 9 years on day 1.
Mazda, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the channel, everybody from the EU. Yes, LVO was one of the very few United States tournaments left that do player placed.
Yeah, it makes it significantly different. So let's, you know what? How about this? I've got a couple of the lists up that I want to talk about. I've got Spatho's list up from our boys out at XBZ. I've got this Dice with Rice shenanigans list. He's really setting the internet on fire with this. I just found this unit. I haven't even seen anybody play it before. Chosen? Have you guys ever seen anybody put Chosen on the board? He's really breaking ground here.
Overpriced. Not worth
overpriced.
Well, he has Chaos Lords in that list too.
Well, yeah,
if he's not running
maybe 3 of them.
If he's not running Red Corsairs, I don't know what to say. He just doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, so the Minimoney's got us up for us. He goes, the 7 most common factions in LVO are Necrons with 80, CSM, Eldari, Codex Space Marine. Codex Space Marine's a little bit deceptive on that because there's so many that fall into that. World Eaters, Nids, and Tau. Yeah, exactly, Kyle. Kyle's playing Death Guard right now. So, but there's some lists that you're going to see if you're taking part. If you're going to LVO, you're going to see a couple of these. You know what? I'm just going to start with Sean's list.
Sure.
Give me a second. I'm going to cover my own face up now because
Brad, cover mine because I have to turn my camera off for me as I go check on my son.
All right, give me a moment because I gotta fix all this up again because somebody jumped in. I mean, we did yell at him until he did, but I mean, it's still his fault.
I was sitting here painting said list, putting some oil washes on and listening, and then suddenly I heard this booming voice, "Get in here! Stop just messaging." Did he just? I guess we're not going to paint our army anymore.
Did you just get scorpioned?
Yes.
Get over here.
All right, so let's talk about this bums list. So, but I do think your list is very similar to a lot of stuff you're going to see. You did not bring the Accursed Cultist, so we will talk about that just a smidge on it. But Sean, you're bringing 3 Chaos Lords. They go in with 3 chosen 5-man chosen units. Then we've got a 4-man unit of Obliterators, double Warp Talents, triple Forge Fiend, a Hell Brute to try to use a little bit of sneaky tech to get those double packs instead of single packs. 2 units of Nurglings because it's required by international law that Chaos always has 2 Nurglings in them. Also because they are wildly undercosted. Nurglings are bonkersville.
Yeah, this is basically your standard CSM list. The only things I'm really changing are, yes, I don't have a Curse Cultist. It's not because I don't have them. I do have them and the Dark Communes, everything else. I played with them before.
Oh, hold on. Do you, Sean? Because I'm just saying, when we were talking about what I was going to take, I'm like, if you're not bringing a Curse Cultist, could I use yours? And you're like, when I said I had them, I didn't mean they were done. I just meant I owned them.
Just like the last 4 days have been me furiously painting the list that right there.
We're talking about Brad Chester who showed up with someone who looked like he painted his models with lipstick. Like legitimately. That Dreadnought?
I didn't do it with lipstick. I did do it with... I actually don't remember what I did it with. We were drinking a lot.
Yeah.
With his fingers. It was with his fingers.
It was with my fingers.
That's all he does. And it was a good I mean, that's a pretty amazing picture of that little smudgy dress. Actually, no, it's a horror show. If you paint it all, don't look at that picture of Brad finger painting a dreadnought. It'll make you sick. But yeah,
it will give you nightmares.
No, the best messages KR literally messaged me, and I'm pretty sure he was just smashing his hands on the keyboard because half of it was just like letters in a row. He's just like, you've reached a new, and then Max Dubois, Brad, you've reached a new low even for you is the standing. I was like, oh man, Max just gave me that I'm not even mad, I'm just disappointed speech. This is sad to me. But
yeah, no Curse Cultists for me. I don't want to take the time to paint them and then move them on the table.
If you had access to them, would you have brought them? Like if you just had shiny new Accursed Cultists appear at your house, would you have brought them?
Probably 2 units. I think 2 units is fine for this terrain. I don't want to lean into 3 if I'm taking them. Brad and I talked about this actually pretty early on before he list talked. I don't think you want 3 on LVO terrain because there is a chance that you just don't get like the ability to hide 3 ever. And while you can put them in reserve, I kind of just, would rather just take 2 and then another shooting platform. And you kind of see that in my list where instead I just brought triple Forge Fiend. The other slight changes I have, yes, I've got a Hellbrute, but I've also got Zeech Obliterators instead of Undivided. This is kind of something that I've been playing around with where, yes, it still gets the double packs near the Hellbrute because Zeech is still the shooting one. But really what it does is when the terrain is so open, and then you have to drop down and, you take something out with your Obliterators, the reality is they're going to shoot back at you. And with Zeech, you just heal a guy and put a guy back. And that can just be backbreaking, especially if they, deal 9 wounds to you. And suddenly that's only 1 Obliterator and 1 going down to 1. And then you heal 1 and bring 1 back and they've just lost the game. So we're trying that. And then just mission elements. You got to take Nurgling, stop people from running at you, Warp Talons to go do an action or to make mincemeat of units because they move 12 inches plus an advance and a charge. So standard stuff other than the Accursed Cultist.
We did actually talk a lot about the Don versus not the Don because we got Carmona in the house and he is bringing the Don and all shooting and no chosen.
Yeah, the Don, I was talking with Brad. We both have included the Don in all of our lists. What changed for me was down here in the no-name southern states, as Brad likes to say, we play almost exclusively player placed in my area. So I've gotten no less than 12 player placed games with Abaddon. And it turns out he just like massively overkills whatever you touch anyway. So I wanted to try the Hellbrute instead, ran it through its paces and went, yeah, I'm pretty much killing the same stuff instead of like wildly overkilling them with dev wounds. I'm just like barely killing them. And that's good enough when you get, 3 more units out of the deal.
And I like this, and I do think that CSM is going to be terrifying. Let's talk about the Eldar, because I think that if CSM aren't around, Eldar are pretty gross, man. I've got Folger and Ben Urich's list up here, and both of them are very, very similar. Folger's bringing 3 spinners, Ben's bringing 2, so he can get a little bit more trash. They're both bringing the Incarn, and they're both bringing, the usual suspects of the Autarch Wayleaper and Fugan, and then they're both bringing a 10-man unit of Wraithguard. What do you think about this list into the field? Obviously, Eldar's been doing really well. Didn't win a tournament this weekend, though.
So here's my thing. So let's say on day 1, that Eldar list, right, draws an unending swarm in the first round. Right? And it's running the true unending swarm with so much trash, so many units. Doesn't have enough killing power to get rid of all those models to keep them off stuff. That could be a huge problematic matchup for them because they don't have the I can't see that list at all. It's open. Do they have the Shadow Specters in there and Warp Spiders? What's the rest of them?
They're running Ben's running Rangers. Folger's running Hawks and Spiders. And then Ben is running a little bit more trash because he's running Rangers, a 10-man unit of Spectres to come down and actually do damage, 2 units of Hawks, 1 unit of Spiders. So both of them have issues if you take out the trash. Against Eldar right now, again, there's a reason that Eldar's been winning for forever. It's amazing. They've got great shit, Night Spinners, cough, cough, good strats. But if you take out their trash, especially on the missions we're going to be playing, you can push them back. I do think that Necrons play very well into Eldar also, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna say it here. I think you'll have one Eldar make the top 8, and that'll be it. I think the meta has shifted enough that a lot of people have gone with the Brad Chester style of, you know what, let me just bring a ton of scoring units that have some killing capability but some durability and that can punch you in the face and cover the board and deny you access to things. And that doesn't play into Eldar's strong suit right now. Eldar's really good at killing big stuff, like efficiently good, but they're not killing tons and tons of models in a turn. You go first against Eldar and you push your advantage and take over the board, they have some trouble scoring.
100%. And CSM is still the boogeyman for Eldar. Don't get me wrong, Eldar is disgusting. It's just, I think that CSM's had their number for a while. And we haven't seen, obviously we haven't had Necrons in the meta for that long, but we have a lot of lists. We have a lot of 18 Wraith lists, and we also have a bunch, I think it's split. Metamonday, if you could give me the split between Hyperphase and Canoptic, if you have that available to you, that'd be great, because it looked like I just saw the lists were live and I started to peruse some of them, and through a couple of people that I wanted to showcase a little bit. I had to definitely show Ben's list up because he is bringing me a bunch of orcs. So I was like, no way I'm not showing Ben's list. But it was a big deal on that too. I think that Necrons are going to do really well. I think you're going to see a Necron at the top 8. Also, it's the most represented.
I think you're going to see maybe one repetition in that top 8. I think it's going to be very diverse. I don't think it's going to be copy and paste multiple of the same style army as it has been in past years. I think the meta is open enough right now that you're probably going to see a Space Marine, probably the Vanguard Space Marine build that Mr. Lennon popularized. I think you're sorry he popularized it, even though I know we were working on it beforehand. But I think you're gonna see that from him. I think you're going to see orcs most definitely in there. I think you're going to see Necrons. I think you're going to see one Eldar. I think you're going to see one World Eater, definitely a Chaos Space Marine. I think if you see a second, it'll be another Chaos Space Marine. And then those last 2 slots are kind of up in the air. I think AdMech may surprise some people by far.
I think AdMech's sketchy. I've been actually, one of the guys I work with is bringing AdMech. There you go, Sean. Is bringing AdMech to LVO. And it is super annoying, especially if they go first with all those infiltrated. He's got so many forward deploying units to just take, and especially if you're playing something like, again, Sanctuary or the Gothic. Gothic/Chaos. I always flip-flop those, which one's which. But if you can put up U's up front and just take the board and just kind of tell your opponent, I've got OC 1,000,000 on these. And again, in the first 6 games, we're playing 2 priority targets and 1 Scorched Earth. So you don't have to do anything. You literally sit on 2 objectives, max 10 points a turn, and just tell your opponent I'll beat you on secondaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can do that on the ritual too.
Yeah,
it's actually really easy on Player Place to just build your plan in on the ritual, which is round 2. And like, for example, my chaos list can just sit there.
Well, you just
take homers and cleanse, and I get a 91.
Yeah, you literally make a diamond. You put up your U, the middle's here, and then you basically drop a 9 and a 9, and then you've got your home. And you just go, I was going to move, but then I just didn't because I don't have to. I can just score max points like this.
I also agree with KR. I think like Templars are definitely going to get in there.
Fucking Tom.
What I do.
I mean,
You just keep like randomly showing up or not, and
So-
it changes how the windows go once you make yourself live. It's just hilarious.
Oh my hair! I can turn off my camera.
No, don't do it. No, I'm thinking.
No,
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 God damn
no.
it!
So I mean, like, I think there's going to be a surprise list or two that creep into that top 8 that catch everybody off guard, and I think it's going to be some. I think AdMech's like one. I think AdMech and Tyranid Unending Swarm are the two that in my head that creep up overall, saying that they're that's where the issues are going to lie. I think they're.
I think Sam Pope's list is crazy into this meta. He's bringing the Unending Swarm. He's just got.
Did we just realize how we can fuck with Brad? If we all turn off our cameras and on at the same time, reshuffles everything. This is the way for now.
He already has a hard enough time with technology. Let's not make it worse on the poor old man. Coming
Ken,
slightly older man.
Good question. You know what? I'm going to go over here to Spath's list. Spath's playing our boy from XPZ. He's playing Templars, and he is playing a shoot 'em up version. He's playing a Black Templar, Ironstorm Spearhead, triple Tech Marine. He's got all of the tiny Crusader squads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little squads. 5 little squads. And then he's got 1 Reaper, 2 Reapers, 2 Lancers, 2 Inceptor squads, and then he's got a Repulsor Executioner, 2 Scout squads, a Storm Speeder Thunderstrike, and a Calidus Assassin. He's just basically trying to just use that LVO terrain, that player place terrain, and just putting tons of Crusader squads out there to try to steal objectives and do stuff. And they have pretty decent hand-to-hand too.
Yeah. I like that. He's got a good amount of shooting in there, and I like the Reapers because I think that's an answer to some bad matchups for Marines. So that's really good. I like that list.
His scoring is, and that's what I was going to say, is I think Gladius Templars actually would be in the top 8 too. If you're going to say any army that's just going to suddenly just win the whole tournament, I really like Gladius Templars. And the reason is they present like Spatho's list. I know it's Ironstorm, but you present all these threats, and then if you look at that list and you never played against it or with it, you wouldn't know that he's going to get like a 90 on secondary, like with his secondary score if you just don't move. Like the fact that you have to deal with all of these tanks and then hit that Calidus is just going to be dancing around scoring all the points.
With 2 small units of Inceptors too, just bouncing in.
He's getting max on secondaries every game.
You can't really stop him from it. He can just drop. He can also play either tactical or fixed, because he can just slam down teleport armies if he wants to.
It's also a damage check army. Not a lot of armies have the damage to chew through that.
It's also with this terrain, because you got to remember, if you're playing GW terrain, you know you're going to have a couple objectives in the open and stuff like that. You can just close down every single objective on the board almost. Or how about this? Every objective that matters. Because if you get first drop and you're playing, we'll just say Hammer and Anvil again. You play Hammer and Anvil, and you can just slam down your terrain and you cover up 3 of the objectives. You don't need to move. You know what I mean? Or Ritual. We're playing Ritual Mission 2. You literally just make your diamond and go, I can take 4 objectives without ever literally leaving at my side ever.
But also how easy it is to get cover and stuff when you stage things, right? Like, can you imagine having to shoot like a dreadnought that has an arm tucked behind a wall, and like, I'm gonna Armor of Contempt, and you really kill that dreadnought? Well, it takes AP3 alone just to get him past the 2 up 6.
Exactly. It's such a big deal in that.
With player place terrain, if you're not taking fixed objectives, it seems like you're doing yourself a disservice, because I think it's just so much easier to score fixed objectives on player placed. If you're taking tactical, I really hope you've designed your army to do the center of the board and do out in the open stuff.
It just depends on the army.
Yeah, I would say it's really funny, to be honest with you on that, Brian, because I've really hemmed and hawed about what I'm going to do in every mission, and every mission might be different. The way I'm looking at it right now, I might actually do fixed 3 times and tactical 3 times, because my army is designed to score tactical missions.
Well, and if I end up still went to LVO, which I didn't because of work, but I probably would have played tactical most of my games because how my army is designed to play tactical.
Yeah, so like as someone who like my Unending Swarm is definitely designed to play tactical because it scores the best on that. But there's definitely a couple of the missions where with what LVO has picked that I would definitely go fixed if I was able to go my.
I can see your argument. I think some armies you need to go fixed. You have to like.
Yeah, it just feels like if you build your army to go fixed, it seems like player placed helps even more.
Oh, 100%.
Agreed.
So I think terrain, player place helps a little, but I think it's really that deploy teleport homers is a very versatile and easy to score fixed secondary. So you just, you take deploy teleport homers, you try to control the middle. You're pretty much going to score every other kind of fixed secondary you could have. You'll take behind enemy lines if you've got inceptors or 3-inch dropping guys, but even just like assassinate for a few points, like if you control the middle of the battlefield and you're just scoring deploy teleport homers every turn, it already puts you in a spot where if you're doing that and successfully doing it, you're probably just tabling your opponent anyway because you have 2/3 of the board. So I think that'll be a real deciding factor in if you take fixed or not, is can you do deploy against your opponent on this mission setup.
Good point.
Agreed.
So real quick before we go too far, because we only have 10 minutes left. Meta Monday, the man, the myth, the legend. You can come on this show one time this month and BS it with us.
Well, I mean, he should talk about his guard performance after LVO.
I'd like to have him on after LVO, and he can discuss his point of view from LVO and then tell us how we felt about the meta. But my wish list for you is to come on after we also see the data slate, and I want to hear from the man who writes about the meta every single Monday. For those who don't know, look up the Meta Monday 40K. Guy's own website now. I believe it's, if I remember correctly, it's 40kmetamonday.wordpress.com.
I was gonna say the one that I just shared.
The one you just shared. I'd like to hear his views on the data slate when it comes out. I think he writes about it every single week, and I think that his knowledge might even rival yours, Brad. And I'd like to see him show it.
I do like tactical a lot because it does give you CP. KR get a point about that. It is nice to grab a CP sometimes. I do want to see if Sean and I can play in the finals. That would be fantastic. It would literally also break all of the stats of everything if you had an orc final.
What army is winning LVO?
Orcs. Now after that,
Orcs.
I don't think so. I don't got faith in Brad.
You got double down. You've got Sean and Brad.
So
you know what? I'm gonna go a different Sean. Mr. Rice, what army are you playing?
He's played a really good fucking Chaos army. I do wish you had a Cursed Cultist. You wouldn't listen to me. I really felt that you needed those Cursed. I think that a Cursed Cultist, because of the use, it really depends. You're going to play on none of the Sanctuary boards and be like, they wouldn't have done anything for me. But if you play a lot of Sanctuary, a Cursed Cultists are cheating. Because they're just so good at just sitting there taking objectives and telling people to get the hell away from you and get off your lawn.
So, Brad, Meta says he's going to come visit you at LVO, and then you're going to tell him when we want him on.
I can do. Even not your bald mug. Come on now. I think we've got two guys that have hair. So
I agree that JCMS, a true Primarch amongst the peasants like us. Agreed. By the way, if you're looking for Brad, just find a guy who has a couple empty bottles of wine near him. And
the unicorn.
I also have my unicorn with me at all times.
Look for the unicorn. It's the easiest thing.
He's going to be drunk, talking in the third person, and loves to talk about that third person himself.
All you got to do is say, pretty princess, unicorn, and Brad will just appear.
Or if you're waiting till day 3, he's the guy outside the bathroom asking if anyone needs any favors for a ham sandwich.
God damn it, I've moved up to turkey.
That's like
it's not worth a turkey sandwich. I've had that before, and it's not worth a turkey sandwich. You're lucky to get a ham. Enjoy.
But no, so
turkey
Sean,
sandwich is $2 more, Brad.
Sean,
if you had to make
we'll
talk about it.
Sean, if you had to make a pick for what faction you think is going to win LVO, which one are you going with?
Faction. Like serious. CSM. I think they're going to win.
Brad, what's your faction choice?
Orcs.
Tom.
CSM.
Everybody's like, yeah, get here, Brad.
And for me, I'm also going to go with CSM. I think that's the strongest choice right now. Does anyone have player predictions on who wins it? Tom, player prediction?
You know what? I'm gonna go with the homeboy just because he's been close to winning a couple big ones. I don't know. I don't think you've won any super majors yet, Rice. Have you?
Nope. Just hanging out on the periphery.
Yeah.
Guy's a bum.
I'm this time. I think Rice is due. Rice is putting a lot of homework. He's been doing a lot of great shit with our Just Deal With It show with him and Brad. I think it's this time to shine. Plus, I'm not going, so there he goes. It's like easy win for him, then, right? Just kidding. If I win, I'd be lucky to go 3-3, probably as much as I've played lately. No, I'm going with Rice. Rice with CSM.
Rice, I would love to see you win it. I really would. I'd love to see you with all the work you've put in over the last year. I think you are due for the big one.
I also think Sean and Orcs is a very good choice too, though. If I'm being honest.
Sean versus Sean finals, calling it right now.
No
Sean
way.
Sean
Sean's never not top 8. Nathan's never not top 8. Right?
It's Orc on Orc.
Nathan never not top 8 though.
If it comes down to Orc on Orc, every Orc player in the Orc Facebook group that already is mad at you, Brad, will be even more mad at you.
Yes. You were talking about it. You're like, what was your prediction, Brad? And you're like, I really want Sean to win. He's got his time. I was going to give him the Talladega Nights speech. It'd be nice if you won, but if you won, that means that I didn't win. So, Lyle Dixon goes $2 super chat. LVO prediction. Tom, surprise, goes 3-0, then drops.
So in my defense, I wanna talk about this. So like the last 3 GTs I went to, I've gone day 1, went undefeated in the draft, and people's like, the hell. First off, I'm not gonna say any names because he's on the show and he's old and he I'll just say that the man was not in good shape and I take my boy out, right? I take my boy out. The second time, the first time, I should say that time, the first time I've actually dropped at 3-0, my son threw a tantrum. It was his first GT I took him to, and he spent all day just watching me play. And like the last hour, he threw a tantrum and wanted to spend time with me. He couldn't. So I dropped for I could spend the second day with him. And we went around the hotel and the pool and stuff like that. And the third time, I think I was sick. I don't know. The point is I haven't been up to snuff on the meta lately. I've been kind of in and out. I'm coming fully in. I know I've said that once before, but honestly, I'm coming fully in after this new data slate.
So
I wasn't taking it serious.
Brad, I have a question for you. Are you going to Cherokee?
I don't know. I don't know what the dates of anything are. I've said yes to everything, and then people are like, "Well, if you want to go to that, that's like tomorrow." So you gotta get it. I'm like, "Oh, that seems close."
I would love to go to Cherokee. I actually, after looking into it, it looks like a fun time.
All of the things.
That's what I'm hoping is my next one. Otherwise, I'm not until March.
What month is Cherokee?
Cherokee's the end of February.
Yeah, I want to say it's like last week of February.
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds right.
Last.
All right, we're going around. We're promoting stuff. 40K Lorecast, my friends. Facebook, Spotify, whatever. We also get a Discord group. Also, tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern Standard Time, I will be chatting about my orc list. I will literally be looking at why I brought the list, which one of my friends made me take the list and cyberbullied me. Also, why Sean's a better friend than Lyle is right now, because Sean cyberbullied me into taking orcs, while Lyle cyberbullied me into taking Power Rangers. So one of us is clearly looking out more for one of the guy. Mr. Horton?
So my thing I'm going to promote is by far subscribe to our channel. It helps us out with all the analytics and lets us do this more and keeps Brad in turkey sandwiches. So by all means, please do that.
Mr. Rice?
As you probably all know, we do deal with it. Brad and I do. We are taking a short break so that we can come back full force whenever the data slate happens. So expect big things from Deal With It, where we're going to do probably another 2-parter where we give you, hey, this is what we think the meta is going to look like. And then we showcase some cool lists that we think we might do. So stay tuned for that.
Nice.
You can see him on To Catch a Predator.
First off, one thing you get done, it would not be that show. What's the back of my truck saying? Very bold letters.
True. Also, if I ever get killed, even though my health's terrible, it's still Brit's fault because I have spent some time watching her shows lately, and it is just How to Get Away with Murder, and she's always angry when the killers get caught of how poorly they did. I'm like, I don't like what's happening, everyone. On that note, on the please investigate the Brad Chester murder. Queen's wave, everyone.
Spoiler, it wasn't murder, he just died.
I mean, probably.